The call came in just after 2 p.m., while I was elbow deep in changing the brake pads on a customer's Ford Fusion. My phone buzzed once in my pocket, Lauren's name flashing across the screen. I didn't pick up. She texted instead, "Mike, I crashed your car. I'm so sorry. Please call me." My hands froze, grease coating my fingers, heart doing this offbeat rhythm thing like it couldn't decide whether to panic or rage. My car, not the family SUV, not her little hatchback. My car, that wasn't just some old Civic or Beater. It was my baby, a 2013 Dodge Charger, pearl black with cherry red leather, custom exhaust, and a 6.4L V8 engine that purred like a tiger in heat. I'd saved for years and done half the mods myself. When I wasn't fixing brakes and oil leaks at the shop, I drove part-time for Uber Black, mostly weekends or late-night airport runs. Good tips, flexible hours, and safer than you'd expect, especially with a hidden dash cam I installed myself. Lauren never liked that car. Too loud, she'd say. Too aggressive. Funny, I always thought that was why she liked me in the first place. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I wiped my hands off on a towel, tossing the wrench onto the workbench a little harder than I should have. Dave, my boss and longtime friend, looked up from across the garage. "Something wrong. My wife totaled my car," I said flatly. He winced. "Shit, man. That Charger." "Yeah." I didn't elaborate. "Damn sorry. You need to take off?" "Yeah," I muttered. "Thanks." The accident wasn't fatal. She texted again that she was fine, just shaken. Said she'd been rear-ended at an intersection downtown. Claimed it wasn't her fault. Traffic cam would prove it, she said. I didn't ask why she was driving in the first place. I already knew. She took it whenever she wanted to feel powerful, edgy, maybe a little dangerous. It was her way of playing badass. I used to find it hot. Now, I just felt hollow. At the impound lot, the Charger looked like a wounded animal. Front crumpled in, windshield cracked, hood popped like a soda someone stomped on. I walked around it slowly, jaw tight, taking in the damage. The smell of coolant mixed with burnt rubber hit my nose like a sucker punch. Mechanic said it's probably a total loss. The clerk told me, handing over the keys. I figured. He hesitated, tapping a clipboard. "By the way, I saw something weird when I went to disconnect the battery. You got a dash cam in there, right?" I nodded. "You might want to check the footage. Looks like it was recording until the crash. It's not just facing forward either. There's an interior cam." My heart paused for half a second. That camera, the one Lauren didn't know about. "Yeah, just for safety. I sometimes drive nights," I said, trying to sound casual. "Smart move," he said with a shrug, already moving on to the next clipboard. But I wasn't listening anymore. That dash cam, that little black square tucked beneath the rearview mirror, invisible unless you knew where to look. I wired it to a secondary power bank. It recorded both audio and video. Motion triggered, time stamped, and the memory card was probably still intact. I retrieved it with shaky hands. On the drive home, the possibilities started creeping in. Why did she take my car without asking? Why was she even downtown? Her office was midtown, and she was working from home today, wasn't she? My thoughts started to spiral, sharp and fast and biting. By the time I pulled into her driveway, my pulse was pounding like a bass drum. Lauren's car wasn't home. Good. I needed time. I headed straight for the home office, locked the door, slid the memory card into my laptop. The folder blinked open. Hundreds of clips, most of them boring. Late-night pickups, drunken passengers, bad tips. But then I found the timestamp. Today, 1:47 p.m. A 10-minute clip. I hesitated. My finger hovered over the mouse. And then I clicked. The video crackled to life. The interior of the Charger. Bright daylight. Lauren in the passenger seat, glancing around, fixing her hair. Then the passenger door opened, and in slid a man. Not just any man. Ryan. Fucking Ryan. Her co-worker. The one she said she hated. The one she said was too in a CrossFit and cheap cologne. He leaned across the center console and kissed her. Not a peck. A kiss. Open mouth. Tongue. Her hand on his thigh. Laughter. My throat went dry. They were talking something about not having much time and using your car since it's not tracked like work vehicles. He joked about how ironic it would be to have sex in her husband's ride. She giggled. Giggled. Then the crash happened. Screech of tires. A scream. Shaking. Airbags exploded. The footage jolted into chaos. Then silence. I sat there in the darkened office, staring at the paused frame. Her face frozen mid-laugh. Eyes closed, mouth slightly parted. She looked like a different person. Wild. Free. Beautiful even. But not mine anymore. The room felt ice-cold. Or maybe I was burning up from the inside out. Either way, I couldn't feel my fingers. I played it again. And again. Trying to make sense of it. Trying to find the moment it all broke. But it had already broken. I was just the last one to find out. Laura didn't just crash my car. She crashed everything. The air in the office felt thinner now. Like the betrayal had sucked all the oxygen out of the room and left me with nothing but the noise of my own heartbeat. The kind of deep, hollow thud that echoed in your ribs. I stared at the screen for I don't know how long, the last frame of the footage frozen like a slap I kept letting hit me. Her lips on his. Her hand resting on his thigh like it belonged there. Lauren, the woman who once used to trace circles on my chest after sex. Who used to press her forehead to mine and whisper that I made her feel safe. Who wore my flannel shirts around the house on cold mornings, no matter how many sweaters she owned. That woman was laughing in my car, getting felled up by another man, moments before wrecking the only thing I truly considered mine. I should have deleted the file. Instead, I watched it again, and again. The sixth time, I muted it, just watched their mouths move, her eyes shine in ways I hadn't seen in years. She looked excited, flushed, alive. When was the last time she looked at me like that? I clicked through the file tree on the camera's SD card. The cam had motion detection on a short buffer, so it recorded 10 seconds before and after movement was detected. There were clips leading up to the crash. They got in the car around 1:37 p.m. That meant at least 10 minutes of footage before everything went to hell. I opened the clip marked 1:37 and 22 seconds p.m. Ryan slid into the passenger seat like he owned it. Not even a second of hesitation. Lauren leaned toward him, smiling. You sure he's not going to check the camera? Mike's clueless. He only uses this for his little Uber side hustle. He'd never think to look at it unless someone puked in the back seat. Ryan smirked. Poor guy. She laughed. Don't feel too bad. He doesn't even notice when I come home late. You sure about this? He asked, voice lowering, leaning in. She didn't answer with words. She kissed him instead. It wasn't rushed. It was slow. Familiar. That kiss told me everything. This wasn't the first time. I sat there, feeling like my skin was 3 sizes too small. The camera caught everything. The way he tugged her lower lip with his teeth, the way her hand slid in his lap and stayed there. My knuckles turned white around the mouse. They talked about needing to be quick. Something about her going to make it look like she was just running errands. He asked if she still wanted to meet at that motel again next Tuesday. She nodded, said she missed the way he made her feel like a real woman. And that's when I knew this wasn't a one-time thing. This was a full-blown affair. My mouth went dry as the pieces started falling into place. The distance, the late nights, the sudden interest in going to the gym more. Her body had changed the past few months, firmer, more toned. I thought maybe she was doing it for me, but maybe it was for him. Maybe he liked her legs the certain way. Maybe he liked her shaved clean, the way she'd suddenly started doing again after years of not caring. I scrubbed a hand over my face, breathing heavy. My stomach was doing flips. Not angry yet. Not fully. That would come later. This was just pure hurt. She'd taken my car to cheat. Sat in my driver's seat, lips swollen from kissing another man, eyes sparkling in my rearview mirror. Then she crashed it. And she had the audacity to send me a text like she'd lost a damn set of house keys. I'm so sorry. I watched the crash footage again, this time focusing on her face the moment it all went sideways. The exact second the impact hit, her expression went from playful to panicked, and she let out this scream, half shock, half fear. Good. She deserved that fear. Deserved to be jolted awake from her fantasy, even if it was only for a second. I pulled the memory card from the laptop, slipped it into a tiny black case, and locked it in the fireproof drawer at the bottom of the filing cabinet. Then I stared at my reflection in the dark screen of my monitor. And I saw someone different. Not Mike the nice guy. Not Mike the husband who brought her coffee every morning just the way she liked it. 2 sugars, no cream. Not like the guy who gave her space when she needed time to think about her job, her body, our sex life. This Mike had something in his hands. Truth. And maybe something even more dangerous. Time to think. I walked downstairs, poured myself a glass of whiskey, straight, no ice. The glass shook a little in my hand. Not from fear, from adrenaline. My body knew something was about to change. Knew the man who got up this morning was already gone. I called her. She answered on the second ring. "Hey," she said, trying to sound cheerful. "I just left the repair shop. They said the car's probably totaled." "I'm so sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to." "You okay?" I asked, voice low measured. "Yeah, just sore. I have a small bruise from the airbag, but nothing serious." "Thank God." "Good. Cars can be replaced." I let the silence stretch. She waited. "You mad?" she finally asked. "Of course not," I said, lying with a steadiness that surprised me. "Just glad you're all right." "Thanks, babe." Babe, that word didn't fit anymore. It felt like a costume she put on to play the role of wife for a few seconds longer. We said our goodbyes. I hung up first, and then I poured another drink. The betrayal didn't feel like a blade to the gut. It felt like acid. Slow, corrosive, eating its way through everything we built. And I realized I didn't want to confront her. Not yet. No screaming. No accusations. That would be too easy for her. She needed to feel it first. The paranoia, the tension, the unraveling. She needed to fall apart before I even said a word. And I had just a plan. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was restless. Restless implies some vague discomfort. No, this was different. I was awake, alert, focused, like every nerve ending in my body had snapped to attention and refused to be still. Lauren came home around 10:30 p.m. I heard the garage door open and close. Heard her heels click across the tile. Heard her pause just outside the office, like she was wondering if I was in there. I didn't move. Eventually, she knocked gently. "Mike." I stayed quiet, eyes fixed on the faint reflection of my face in the window. My own stillness surprised me. "I'm going to shower," she said after a moment. "We can talk in the morning, okay?" No response from me. 10 minutes later, I heard water running upstairs. I imagined her in there, washing his scent off her skin, scrubbing guilt from her thighs. Maybe she thought hot water could erase what she'd done. Maybe she thought this silence meant I was still playing the role. The husband who forgives, forgets, fixes. But I wasn't that man anymore. I didn't sleep, and I didn't speak. Instead, I opened a blank file on my laptop and typed one word. Ryan. If I was going to do this, I had to do it right. Revenge isn't a reaction. It's a discipline, a craft. And I had time now. Hours during the day between garage shifts, nights while she slept curled on her side of the bed, unaware that I was already dismantling the world she thought she understood. First, I started with what I knew. Ryan worked in the same building as Lauren. An account executive, mid-level, barely important, but smug enough to think screwing someone else's wife gave him an edge. I met him once at a holiday party 2 years ago. He brought store-bought bourbon and wore a red cashmere sweater tight enough to reveal he was trying too hard. Back then I just thought he was a douche. Now I knew he was dangerous. LinkedIn showed he'd been with the company for 5 years. Married, 2 kids, lived about 30 minutes west, in a neighborhood that looked like a Pinterest board exploded. White fences, golden retrievers, Christmas lights still up in February. His wife's name was Angela. A quick scroll through her Facebook confirmed everything I needed. She posted constantly. Gym selfies, kid pics, family outings, public declarations of love. It was the kind of digital vomit people posted when they were either perfectly happy or terrified the illusion might crack. I saved some of the pictures, not for blackmail, for calibration. I needed to remember what Ryan stood to lose. I spent the next few days pretending nothing had changed. Laura made breakfast one morning, scrambled eggs and toast, still warm from the pan. She kissed my cheek. Thought I'd spoil you after the week you've had. I smiled. 8. She looked relieved. The act was working. At night, while she showered or scrolled through her phone, I was digging. Deeper. I accessed the interior dashcam again. The memory card had old footage. She'd used my car more than once. Twice in March. Once the week before. Same passenger. Same hunger in her eyes. I found messages too. She'd synced her phone to our shared tablet months ago. Probably forgot. I restored the backup, opened the message app, and there it was. Lauren, I still think about your mouth on me every time I sit down. Ryan, that seat in Mike's car gonna be dry when I pick you up again? Every message was a nail in the coffin. My hands didn't shake anymore. The pain had calcified. What replaced it was something stronger. A stillness that felt dangerous. I didn't scream. I planned. I started tracking Ryan's schedule. Asked around during rideshare shifts if anyone worked near his building. A few regulars gave me gold. Where he parked, what gym he used, where he got his morning coffee. Patterns. Weak spots. I learned he'd recently been reprimanded at work for inappropriate behavior. A rumor passed to me by a chatty intern I drove from the same building one night. Apparently, he had a reputation for flirting with subordinates. Interesting. I also learned something else. His wife, Angela, had just launched a mompreneur Instagram business, selling organic candles and bath bombs from home. She had 2,400 followers and a blog where she chronicled life with Ryan and the boys. The blog's tagline? One marriage, endless gratitude. I laughed when I read that. Bitter. Empty. But it gave me an idea. Not yet. Not today. But soon. I wasn't going to hurt them. Not physically. No violence. No broken laws. I wasn't some cliche with a baseball bat and a bruised ego. No, I wanted precision. I wanted to burn down their reputations. Their stability. The mask they wore for the world. But most of all, I wanted Lauren to watch it happen. To feel the collapse. To lie awake in the same bed where she once faked orgasms with me. Knowing her silence was the fuse I lit under her lover's life. I'd make her smile through dinner while the walls closed in. I'd make her kiss me good night the night before it all came crashing down. And when she finally broke, I'd still wait. Because revenge wasn't about balance. It was about making sure they never forgot. I didn't change overnight. I still made coffee in the mornings. Still asked Lauren if she needed anything before I left for work. Still said, love you, when I left the house, though I didn't wait to hear it back. That was the beauty of silence. It left room for doubt. And doubt is more destructive than rage. Rage burns fast, loud, but doubt, it creeps. It festers. It turns every small moment into a question mark. And I was becoming a master of planting those. The first week, I barely looked at her phone. Not because I didn't want to, because I knew she expected me to. That's the game cheaters play. They get paranoid, start hiding things harder, but also watching you, waiting for your behavior to shift. I kept mine steady, predictable, almost boring, but I was watching. I noticed how she stopped leaving her phone face up on the counter, started using the bathroom with it again. She put it under her pillow at night, like I didn't already have all the proof I needed locked away. Still, it gave her no signs, just soft smiles, subtle delays in my replies, a kiss that landed just shy of her lips one morning. I watched her brows twitch for a second. She noticed. I knew she would. By Friday, I was running the long game. Every day, after work or between taxi shifts, I did my research. I found Ryan's HOA board had a strict morality clause for residents who run businesses out of their homes. Guess what Angela did? Ran a business out of their home. I drafted an anonymous complaint letter. Included a printout of a few racy texts between him and Lauren, taken right from the sync tablet. I mailed it in a plain envelope. No fingerprints, no handwriting. Just an address and a message typed in size, 12 times New Roman. Mr. Ryan Weller is not representing your neighborhood well. Affairs with married co-workers while his wife runs a family-centered business from their residence. Just thought you should know. It was enough. A whisper in the wrong ear. A crack in their perfectly curated suburban glass. But that was just the appetizer. At home, Lauren was beginning to shift. She'd get quiet when I walked into her room. Jump when I cleared my throat. She started dressing up more, even for dinner. Nothing over the top, but deliberate. Fresh makeup. Lip gloss. She was trying to reclaim something, intimacy, maybe, or normalcy, or power. Whatever it was, she wasn't going to get it from me. We had sex once that week. I let it happen. She touched me like she was searching for something, moaning just a little too loud, arching her back like she wanted me to see what Ryan saw. It It was performative, and I played my part. I kissed her neck, ran my fingers down her spine, but in my head I wasn't there. I wasn't kissing Lauren. I was memorizing the feel of her skin to prepare myself for the moment I wouldn't need it anymore. Afterward, she curled into me like we used to, like she still belonged. I waited until her breathing evened out, then whispered against her hair. "You've been quiet lately." She stirred. "Just tired." I let a beat pass. "Me too." That was it. 2 words. But the way she shifted slightly, like something cracked in her ribs, I felt it. I savored it. That's when I knew the silence was working. I kept laying the traps. Started asking vague questions over dinner. "You ever hear from anyone at your job having an affair?" Just curious. That stuff happens a lot, right? She blinked. I guess. Office gossip. What? No reason, I said. Just feels like you never know people the way you think you do. She nodded slowly, then added, "I've never done anything like that, if that's what you're asking." Line number 87. I tilted my head. "Never said you did." She barely touched her pasta after that. The next few days, I made a point to stay out later. Told her I picked up more rideshare shifts. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I just parked a block away and scrolled through photos of her and Ryan again. Each time I did, I felt less hurt, less guilt, more control. I'd started a little folder on my laptop, untraceable, buried in a partition. Labeled it maintenance logs. Inside were screenshots, audio clips, transcribed texts. I'd cataloged her betrayal like a forensic analyst. I didn't know what disturbed me more, what she did, or how meticulous I'd become in documenting it. Some nights, I wondered what that said about me. Then I remember how she looked in that video, how she bit her bottom lip when Ryan touched her, how she moaned when he whispered something I couldn't hear. And whatever questions I had about myself dissolved into a single, humming certainty. She deserved everything coming to her. One night, around 2 a.m., I got up for water and caught her in the hallway. She jumped. "Jesus, Mike, you scared me." "Couldn't sleep," I said. Yeah, just thinking. About." She hesitated. "Us." I didn't respond. I let the silence do what it does best, dig holes in people. She started fidgeting, playing with her wedding ring. "I feel like things have been off," she said. "Between us." I took a sip of water. "You think?" "Yeah." Another pause. Then, "Are you angry with me?" I looked at her. Not past her. At her. Why would I be angry? I don't know. Something feels different. I smiled. A slow, cold smile. And I said, "Good night, Lauren." Then I walked past her, up the stairs, and left her standing there with all her guilt bubbling under the surface like acid on skin. She didn't sleep the rest of that night. I could hear her pacing. And me? I dreamed of matches, of slow burns, of the kind of silence that comes right before the scream. I always believed that if you wanted to hurt someone, really hurt them, not with fists but with precision, you didn't go after their heart. You went after their image. That perfect little mask they wore in public. The lies they curated for social media. Their spotless reputation at work. The smiling family photos that said, "Everything's fine here." Ryan's mask was about to crack, and I was the one holding the chisel. It started with an email. Simple. Anonymous. From a freshly made burner account. Sent to HR at his company, addressed to their corporate misconduct inbox. Subject line: Inappropriate conduct, confidential matter. Inside, a selection of transcribed text between Ryan and Lauren, pulled straight from the sync tablet backup. Suggestive, vulgar. Enough to raise eyebrows. I kept it professional, clipped. Employee Ryan Weller has engaged in a months-long affair with a coworker. This relationship violates company policy on workplace fraternization and professional conduct. See attached messages. You may also wish to inquire about inappropriate use of company time and vehicles. No signature. No IP traceable to me. I sent it at 2:47 a.m. from a public Wi-Fi hotspot 2 towns over. Sat in my car, sipping cold gas station coffee, watching the little paperclip icon spin as the attachments uploaded. The moment I clicked send, I felt it, the shift. Something irreversible had started, and I wasn't finished. Angela, Ryan's wife, was next. She was harder, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I had to decide how much to say. She was an innocent, right? Maybe. But innocence doesn't protect you from pain. So I crafted a message. Short, measured, cruel in its simplicity. Angela, I'm sorry you have to see this. You don't know me, but you need to know what Ryan's been doing behind your back. He's been sleeping with my wife. In our car. During work hours. Repeatedly. The attached photos are from my vehicle's interior camera. I'm sure you'll recognize the woman. You didn't deserve this. A husband who once thought he knew the truth. I attached a still image of Lauren and Ryan kissing. Her hand on his leg. His fingers tangled in her hair. No nudity. No shock value. Just truth. I created a throwaway Instagram and DM'd it to her Candle business page. At 3:11 a.m. Then I waited. The fallout started by mid-morning. Lauren was in the kitchen, pouring herself a smoothie when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I caught the change in her posture, shoulders stiffening, lips parting slightly. She tapped a few times, then froze. I didn't say anything. I just took a sip of my coffee and watched her from across the room. She set her phone down carefully, hands trembling. Everything okay? I asked. She turned, smile brittle. Yeah, just something from work. Nothing major. A lie, smooth and immediate. She wasn't ready yet, but she knew something had cracked. Later that day, I got confirmation from a friend inside Ryan's office. An old rideshare client who worked in legal compliance. We'd stayed in touch, shared the occasional coffee, bonded over mutual loathing for corporate hypocrisy. He texted, Jill, wild shit today. Some guy from sales, Ryan something, got pulled into HR for fraternization violations. Word is his wife showed up at the building screaming. I could almost hear the chaos. Ryan sweating through his shirt. Angela with mascara-streaked fury. HR scrambling to do damage control, while employees whispered behind cubicle walls. I drove past his office later that evening. Parked across the street. Watched from a distance as Ryan walked out with a cardboard box in his hands. Suspended. Maybe fired. Either way, his day was over. I smiled. That night, Lauren came to bed late. Her face was pale, eyes puffy. She hadn't said much all evening, just moved like a ghost, going through motions. As she slid under the covers, I turned to face her. Everything all right? I asked again, softer this time. She hesitated. Yeah, just tired. I reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Let my fingers linger a little too long on her cheek. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in weeks, I saw it. Fear. Not panic. Not shame. Fear. She didn't know what I knew, but she knew I knew something. The next morning, I left the house early. Picked up a few rides before the sun even broke the horizon. A quiet, gray drizzle covered the city in mist, and I welcomed the stillness. I had one last thread to pull. Angela posted something on her business blog that afternoon. Sometimes life throws us truths we didn't want. But truth is still a gift, no matter how painful. We deserve to live honestly, even if that honesty destroys the illusion. Thank you to the stranger who showed me what was real. I stared at the post for a long time, not because it moved me, because it confirmed everything. Ryan's life, ruined. Career, wounded. Marriage, imploding. And Lauren? She was still walking around our house like she wasn't bleeding inside. But I knew she was. I watched the signs. The sudden need to clean obsessively. The way she over-explained where she was going, who she was texting. The forced affection, the long hugs, the questions like, are you happy? Are we okay? Every time she asked, I just smiled and said, of course. And every time I said it, I could feel her sanity slip just a little more. She wasn't sure what I'd done, but she was terrified of what I might do next. And that, more than anything, was the sweetest part of it all. The thing about revenge that no one tells you, you don't just inflict it, you become it. I wasn't Mike anymore, not the husband, not the mechanic, not the Uber driver trying to make ends meet. I was something colder, sharper. I'd hollowed myself out and filled the space with patience. And Lauren? She was beginning to crack. It started with small things. She began checking her reflection more often, mirrors, dark windows, even the toaster. Constantly adjusting her hair, smoothing invisible wrinkles in her clothes, reapplying lip balm like it was armor. Every time I walked into a room, she tensed. Like I might say something. like she was bracing for the blade. But I didn't give her the satisfaction. I was calm, loving even. I brought her coffee in bed one morning. Her favorite, caramel drizzle with oat milk, no foam. She looked at the cup like it might be poisoned. "Thanks," she said, voice unsure. "No problem," I replied. "You look like you needed something sweet." Her smile trembled. Later that day, I left a note on the kitchen table. Just a sticky note. Pink. Nothing dramatic. "Love you. Always watching. M." She stared at it for a full 5 minutes. I know because I watched from the hallway mirror hidden behind the angle of the wall. Her fingers trembled when she picked it up. She put it in her purse instead of the trash. That night, she barely touched her food. I asked her what was wrong. "Nothing," she said. "You sure?" She nodded. "Okay," I said, cutting my steak. "You just seemed a little off. Almost like you're hiding something." She looked up, eyes wide. I smiled, casual. "You'd tell me if something was going on, right?" "Of course," she whispered. I chewed slowly. Good. The silence after that was thick enough to chew through. She didn't sleep that night. I know because I didn't either. She lay on her side, body rigid. I could feel her eyes blinking in the dark, listening for any sound, waiting for an explosion that wouldn't come. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. No note, no text, but I already knew where she went. To Ryan. Not for sex. That part was dead. No, she wanted answers. He must have told her. Or maybe he panicked when Angela went nuclear. Either way, he knew someone had exposed them. And Lauren, she was trying to figure out if it was me. I spent the afternoon cleaning the garage. Nothing dramatic. Just reorganizing, wiping down tools, tuning up a customer's bike that I didn't need to finish until next week. When Lauren came home, her face was pale, like she'd seen a ghost. She stood in the doorway of the garage, arms crossed tight under her chest. "I saw Ryan today," she said. "Oh." I didn't look up, just kept wiping the chain on the bike. "He got fired. Said someone sent stuff to his company. His wife left him too." "Damn," I said, finally glancing up. "Tough week." She flinched at the flatness in my voice. "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" I smiled slowly. "What are you asking me, Lauren?" Her throat bobbed. "Did you say anything?" I shrugged. "What would I send?" "You had that Dashcam mic." I set the rag down, stood, walked to her, close enough that she had to tilt her chin to keep looking at me. "You think I went through my own footage? Watched my wife cheat in my car just to get some petty revenge?" She didn't answer. "Lauren," I said gently, brushing a piece of hair from her face. "What kind of husband would do something like that?" Her mouth parted, but nothing came out. I kissed her forehead and walked past her, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge as I left the garage. That night, I could feel her watching me as I undressed. Her eyes scanning every inch of my face, looking for anything. Guilt, hatred, vindication. But I gave her nothing. The next day, I scheduled a couple's dinner with 2 of our mutual friends, Chloe and Mark, people Lauren used to brag to about how strong our marriage was. The kind of people who posted vacation photos with matching outfits and used hashtags like #couplegoals. We hadn't seen them in a year. "Why now?" Lauren asked, looking confused. "I don't know," I said. Felt like reconnecting. "Okay," she said slowly. I waited until dinner was in full swing, wine flowing, laughter loose, before I brought up the subject casually. "You guys ever deal with trust issues?" Chloe tilted her head. "What do you mean? Like when one of you does something shady, and the other one just pretends they don't know?" Lauren's fork clinked against her plate. Mark laughed. "You talking about sneaking cookies again?" I chuckled. "Sure, let's call it that." Lauren excused herself from the table a minute later. Said she wasn't feeling well. I watched her disappear into the bathroom. Chloe gave me a strange look. "Everything okay with you two?" I sipped my drink. "Always." Lauren cried in the car on the way home. Didn't say a word. Just stared out the window, wiping at her face like I wouldn't notice. I didn't comfort her. Didn't even reach for her hand. I let her cry. Let the silence press against her chest like a weight. Because I wanted her to feel what I had felt. Powerless. Unraveling. Alone in a room full of secrets. And we weren't done yet. Not even close. I always knew it would come to this. The truth doesn't stay hidden forever. It waits. Breeds tension. And then, boom, it demands its release. I just didn't want the reveal to be private. No whispered accusations in the kitchen. No tears behind a closed bedroom door. No, this truth deserved an audience. So I planned it. Slowly, meticulously. The opportunity came wrapped in a birthday invitation. Our mutual friend Taylor, someone from Lauren's work circle, was turning 35. Big celebration. Open bar. Rooftop venue downtown. A mix of coworkers, old friends, spouses. The kind of party where people pretended their lives were shinier than they were. Lauren wasn't going to go. Not at first. I don't know, she said, twisting her necklace over dinner. I haven't really talked to Taylor in a while. Come on, I said, smiling. It'll be good for us. That word again. Us. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. 2 nights later, we stepped out of the elevator into warm string lights, soft music, and the smell of champagne and cologne. People were laughing, sipping from crystal flutes. Lauren wore a navy blue dress, fitted, elegant. She looked incredible, polished and composed on the outside. But I could feel the tightness in her hand as I let her in. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know what. We mingled, chatted with coworkers. I let Lauren have her space. I was perfectly pleasant, laughing, nodding, sipping my drink, letting her breathe just long enough to think maybe nothing would happen. Then Taylor made a toast. Thank you all for being here, she said, grinning, glass raised. To friends, to getting older, and to always knowing who's real. A few people clapped. The music picked up again. I stepped forward, tapped my fork against my glass. The sound echoed through the space. People quieted, turned toward me. Sorry, I said, smiling. Mind if I say something? Taylor blinked, surprised. Sure. I looked around the room, eyes scanning the faces. Some I knew, some I didn't. Lauren stood near the bar, frozen in place, wine glass halfway to her lips. I just want to say how grateful I am to be here, I said. Grateful for friends, for honesty. My gaze landed on Lauren. And for cameras. A nervous laugh rippled across the room. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the USB drive. Held it up between 2 fingers. Most of you know I drive part-time. Uber, Lyft, the occasional airport run. Safety is important to me, especially at night. That's why I installed a Dashcam. Front and interior views. Always recording. Always time-stamped. Lauren's lips parted. Her eyes wide. But sometimes, I continued, those cameras catch more than just bad drivers. Silence now. People exchanged glances. I walked over to the small projection screen near the DJ booth. He looked at me, confused. Hey, can I? Just need 5 minutes, I said quietly. Trust me. He shrugged, plugged the drive in. The first frame popped up. Black leather seats. Bright sunlight. And then, Lauren Ryan. Kissing. Touching. Laughing. Gasps. A few choked laughs. Someone whispered, holy shit. Lauren's face turned white. Cut it off, she said, stepping forward, voice shaking. Mike, stop. I held up a hand. Just a few more seconds. The screen showed the moment before the crash, her straddling him, giggling, reaching for the gear shift. Then the footage cut. I turned to the crowd. This has been going on for months. In my car, while I was working overtime to support her. While she smiled in my face and told me she loved me. No one spoke. Ryan's not here tonight, obviously, I added. Lost his job. Lost his wife. Lauren and I are still living together, but well, not for much longer. Lauren stepped toward me, eyes wild. Mike, please. Let's go. I'm not going anywhere, I said cold. You don't have to do this here. But you did it there. In my car. Over and over. With someone who shook my hand once at a company barbecue. People were whispering now. Taylor looked horrified. I turned back to the room. Sorry to ruin the mood. But hey, at least now everything's honest. Then I left. Didn't wait for applause. Didn't look back at Lauren. I took the elevator down alone. Outside, the city felt sharper. Colder. Like the air itself was watching me. I got in a cab, gave my address, and sat in silence. You'd think I'd feel triumphant. Relieved. Justified. But mostly, I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No release. Just an empty hum where my chest used to be. The truth was out. Everyone knew. The mask was off. And yet, Lauren still lived. Still breathed. Still existed in the same world as me. Some part of me thought exposure would erase her. But it didn't. It just broke the silence and left me with the echo. I thought I'd feel better. After the video, the gasps, the way Lauren's face folded in on itself like paper soaked in water, the way no one came to her defense. Not even Taylor, her ride or die. Especially not Taylor. I thought that would be the end of it. But revenge, it turns out, doesn't end with applause. It ends with silence. Laura didn't come home that night. I sat in the kitchen until 2 a.m., watching the ice melt in my glass, wondering if she was at a hotel or curled up in her sister's spare room, crying into someone else's sympathy. Part of me didn't care. The other part wanted to walk into wherever she was and watch her break again. Instead, I went to bed. The house felt emptier than usual, but not in the freeing way I expected. It wasn't catharsis, it was aftermath. The next day, the text started. Chloe, Mike, I can't believe what happened last night. I had no idea. Are you okay? My cousin Aaron. Dude, that video? Unreal. You good? Dave, my boss, just saw Lauren's name trending on some subreddit. Holy shit. It had spread. The party-goers didn't just whisper. They posted, shared, clipped the footage, uploaded it, added dramatic titles like wife caught cheating in husband's Uber car, confronted at party. Reddit picked it up. TikTok got involved. It went viral. Not millions, but enough. Enough for the world to know. Enough for it to find her. When Lauren came home, she looked like a peeled nerve. No muck-up, hair up in a loose bun, eyes red-rimmed and glassy. She didn't say anything at first, just walked into the living room and sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't know where else to go. People at work saw it, she said after a long silence. The video. I didn't answer. They're investigating. HR asked me not to come in for a while. Without pay. Still, I said nothing. I might get fired, she added, barely a whisper. She waited, like I was going to comfort her. I didn't. You told everyone, she said finally. You wanted to ruin me. No, I said, voice steady. I wanted you to face what you did. Her jaw clenched. You think you're noble for that. I think I was honest. Something you stopped being a long time ago. She stood then, shaky but angry. You think this makes you better than me? You broadcasted it. You wanted people to laugh at me. I didn't need help. You did that on your own. She flinched like I slapped her, then stormed up the stairs. I didn't follow. I didn't even feel the wind, because something was shifting. This wasn't a clean cut anymore. It was bleeding into places I hadn't expected. That weekend, Ryan showed up, not at the house, at the garage. It was Saturday morning. I was halfway through a brake replacement when I looked up and saw him, standing across the street, hands in his pockets, hood up. His face looked thinner, eyes sunken, shirt hanging looser than it used to. I stared back, didn't wave, didn't blink. After a minute, he crossed over. I need to talk, he said. I set the wrench down slowly. Here's the talk, I said. You come near my house, or my wife again. Even look at her. I'll send the rest of the footage to your kids. His lips parted. You already destroyed me. Not enough. You think you're the only one hurting, he said, voice shaking. Angela left. Took the boys. My name's Mud at work. I can't show my face anywhere. My parents won't even answer my calls. I raised an eyebrow. So, he stepped closer. Too close. Lauren told me you set it all up. That you manipulated her. I smiled. Didn't have to. She betrayed herself just fine. He clenched his fists. You think you're better than me, man? You think what you did is noble. I stepped forward close enough that he had to tilt his head back to meet my eyes. I didn't fuck someone else's wife in their own car, Ryan. So yeah, by comparison, I think I'm doing all right. For a second, I thought he was going to hit me. And for the first time in this entire mess, I wanted him to, just to feel something, but he didn't. He turned and walked off. I stood there, pulse thrumming, hands shaking, not from fear but adrenaline. And somewhere inside, a voice whispered, "You're not done." Because Lauren wasn't just broken. She was unraveling. She spent the next week locked in the guest room, barely speaking. I heard her crying once. Not the dramatic sobs she used to do during fights. This was quieter, deeper, the kind of sound that came from someone who finally realized they'd burned their own house down. I should have felt peace. I should have felt power. But instead, I started feeling the void. Friends began fading away. Texts stopped. Guys I'd known for years, coworkers, gym buddies, stopped returning calls. Not because they blamed me, because they were afraid of me. I'd gone nuclear, and even though I was justified, they didn't want to be anywhere near the fallout. That's when I realized revenge doesn't end clean. It drags you down with it. You get your pound of flesh, but you bleed for it too. They say revenge is sweet. Whoever said that never lived in the aftertaste. It's been 3 weeks since the party, since the footage, the fallout, the slow-motion detonation of every lie Lauren told and every truth I buried. Since then, the dust has settled, and I'm standing in the middle of it, breathing it in, alone. Lauren still lives in the house, though we barely speak. She moves like a guest now, tiptoeing through rooms she once owned. Her presence is ghost-like, silent, guilt-ridden, half there. She started sleeping in the guest room full-time. The bedroom we once shared feels too big, too cold. I don't mind. I don't miss her warmth. But what I didn't expect was the quiet. It's loud, oppressive. It wraps around me in the evenings when I come home from the garage and no one's asking what I want for dinner or how the day went. I used to hate the small talk. Now I just hate the silence. It gives me too much time to think, too much time to replay. Because here's the thing, I didn't just expose an affair. I became something else, something sharp-edged, something calculated, something the people around me noticed, and they didn't admire it. They feared it. I've lost friends, people who used to laugh with me, text me memes, grab beers on weekends. They don't call. They don't respond. One even said it straight to my face. You went too far, man. Too far? She fucked someone in my car. She lied to me for months. She looked me in the eye and said she loved me while another man's sweat was probably still on her skin. Too far? But then I see myself in the mirror, eyes a little darker, jaw tighter, smile gone, and I wonder, maybe they're right. Maybe I didn't stop at justice. Maybe I enjoyed watching her squirm, enjoyed the silence, the control. Maybe that says more about me than it ever said about her. Lauren's changed too. She barely leaves the house now. Took an extended leave from work. HR never gave her a formal termination, but for what I heard through the grapevine, her reputation's trashed. No one wants to sit next to her at meetings. No one trusts her judgment. Word spreads fast in corporate circles, especially when you're that woman from that video. She tries sometimes. Once she knocked on my office door, clutching 2 mugs of coffee. Thought you might want one, she said. I took it, said thank you, but I didn't drink it. It sat there on my desk, growing cold. Just like everything else between us. I didn't know if she was trying to make peace or pretend nothing happened. Either way, I didn't care. Another night, she stood in the hallway for a long time. I could feel her presence even before I looked up from my laptop. I deserve the exposure, she said quietly. I said nothing. I know what I did. Still silence. I didn't think it would ruin everything. I finally looked at her. That's the thing about choices. We don't always get to choose the consequences. She blinked, then nodded. Do you hate me? I didn't answer, because the truth was complicated. I didn't hate her, but I couldn't love her again. That bridge wasn't just burned, it was nuked from orbit. She walked away that night, and I sat there, staring at the cursor blinking on my screen. It looked like it was judging me, mocking me. This is what you wanted, it seemed to say. But was it? Because the house is quiet. The friends are gone. The trust is shattered, and I'm still standing here, shoulders heavy, heart hollow. I got what I wanted, and it cost me everything. Even Angela, the one I thought might understand, cut contact. I messaged her once, just to check in, maybe to thank her. She never replied, probably because she realized the same thing I did. Revenge may be righteous, but it's never clean. It stains everything. The last message I got from anyone remotely involved was from Ryan's wife's sister. A simple one-liner. You won, but you didn't heal. She wasn't wrong. I hadn't healed. I'd won the battle, burned the battlefield, and now I was left staring at ashes. No celebration, no redemption. Just the uncomfortable truth that vindication isn't peace. And now, I was starting to wonder if I'd ever find it. There's a point after the fire, after the wreckage, where you think it's over. You stand in the ashes, convince yourself the worst has passed, and maybe you can start over. But the thing about destruction? It echoes. It doesn't just knock down walls. It sends aftershocks through every relationship, every thought, every breath you take afterward. And sometimes, the rebel fights back. It started with a knock on the door. Hard. Rapide. Urgent. I was in the garage underneath a Honda Civic when I heard it. Something about the rhythm made me pause. Too desperate to be a delivery, too aggressive to be friendly. I wiped my hands, grabbed a rag, and opened the door. Ryan, eyes wild, shirt wrinkled, sweat on his forehead despite the cool air. You happy now? He barked. My blood ran still. You come to my house, I said slowly. And open with that. He stepped closer, breath ragged. My kids won't talk to me. Angela filed for divorce. I can't get another job because that video's still floating around. You ruined me. No, I said. You ruined you. I just gave the world a front row seat. His jaw clenched, but his eyes weren't angry anymore. They were broken. I lost everything, he muttered. And she, Lauren, she's hiding in that fucking house like she's the only one who bled. I stared at him. Something about the way he said her name didn't sit right. You still talking to her? She reached out, he admitted. She wanted to make sense of everything. She needed someone. You don't get to be her someone, I said. Not anymore. He laughed, bitter and hollow. You think you still are? That's when something snapped. I didn't swing first. I wanted to, but what I did instead, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the brick arch beside the door. You think you've suffered? I growled. You think this is pain? You stole from me. You took my trust, my home, my wife, and left me with nothing. And now you want a fucking pity parade. He shoved me back, stumbling. You think I planned this? He shouted. It just happened. She wanted out. You just didn't see it. She was dying inside. Then she should have left. I roared. Not fucked you in my car. We were in each other's faces again. No fist thrown, but it was a volcano ready to go off. He was shaking. I was shaking. And then the door behind me opened. Lauren, hair tied back. Kudi, no muck-up. She looked smaller than I remembered, almost fragile. She stepped out slowly, eyes flicking between us. Ryan, she said, voice tight. What are you doing? I came to talk to him. Ryan snapped, gesturing toward me. To tell him what he's done. Lauren's eyes met mine, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't look afraid. She looked angry. Don't, she said. Don't pin this all on him. Ryan blinked. You called me, Lauren. I called you because I didn't know who else to talk to. Not because I wanted you back. Not because I forgave what we did. We did this. Not Mike. That silenced him. But she wasn't done. She turned to me. You got your revenge. You burned it all down. And I let you. Because I thought I deserved it. Maybe I still do. Her voice cracked then, and something twisted in my chest. But you didn't just punish me. You made sure everyone I know watched it happen. You made me hate myself, Mike. Every day. Every time I look in the mirror, all I see is what I did wrong. You think I feel good about any of this? I shot back. You think I sleep at night? She stepped closer, her voice rising. I think you enjoyed it. You stared at her, stunned. And then she laughed, just once sharp and bitter. You can't even admit it. You didn't just want justice. You wanted to humiliate me. Because you betrayed me. I yelled. And I'm still here, she screamed. You think that doesn't count for anything? I could have run. I could have left. But I stayed. I stayed because I hoped, some tiny, stupid part of me hoped, you might still want to fix it. I couldn't speak. Neither could Ryan. The three of us just stood there in the doorway of the house we all broke. You both ruined me, she whispered finally. And you're still ruining each other. Then she turned and walked away, down the steps, down the sidewalk. She didn't look back. Ryan let out a long, tired breath. Maybe she's right. I didn't answer, because I didn't know anymore. I watched him leave, then went back inside. The silence that followed wasn't like before. It wasn't peaceful. It was loaded, electric. I sat on the bottom step of the stairs and realized something that felt like swallowing glass. No one won. Not me. Not Lauren. Not Ryan. We all just lost differently. I thought revenge would give me clarity. But all it gave me was an empty house, a ruined marriage, and the bitter knowledge that I'd hurt people not to find peace, but to make them feel as ruined as I did. And now, there was nothing left to destroy. The house has been quiet for weeks now. Lauren's gone. Not officially, not with a moving van or lawyers just yet, but she packed a suitcase one morning and said, I think we both need air. I didn't stop her. Didn't ask where she was going. She didn't tell me. and that silence felt like the most honest moment we'd shared in months. I expected to feel triumph after everything I'd done. After the public exposure, the carefully timed destruction of Ryan's life, the psychological slow burn that I poured into Lauren. But now I just feel done. Not at peace. Not forgiven. Just done. The day after she left, I stood in the garage and looked at the Charger. Or what was left of it. It had been towed back after the insurance finalized the claim, stripped for parts, a half skeleton of what it used to be. I stared at it like it might say something. The frame was twisted. The windshield cracked like a spiderweb across a frozen lake. I ran my fingers across the door she once opened, the seat where she laughed with Ryan, the gears shift they moved between thrusts like it was foreplay. That car used to mean everything to me. Freedom, power, identity. Now, it was a monument to betrayal, and I was tired of looking at it. I called a scrap yard the next morning. Didn't even haggle the price. Strip it. Crush it. I don't care, I told the guy. He looked at me with a flicker of understanding. Breakup car. I nodded. He grinned. Yeah, we get those more than you'd think. As the tow truck pulled it away, I felt something shift. Not a clean break, but a start. I started going to counseling. I didn't tell anyone. Just booked it online one night at 1 a.m. After sitting alone on the couch for 3 straight hours, staring at an untouched whiskey glass. Her name was Dr. Hansen. Calm, direct, didn't flinch when I told her everything. I told her about the affair, the footage, the exposure, the mind games, the public humiliation. She didn't judge me. She just asked, "What did it cost you?" At first, I said nothing. Then I said her. And finally, I admitted myself. Because that's the thing. In trying to destroy her pain, I became my own weapon. I used silence like a scalpel. Precision cruelty. I made her break. And when she was on her knees, I kept the pressure on. Because I wanted her to feel it. And now that it was over, I wasn't proud. I was hollow. I don't regret exposing the truth, I told Dr. Hansen. But you regret how you delivered it? She asked. No, I said after a pause. I regret that I enjoyed it. She nodded. That's honest. And honesty is a place to begin. Angela sent me a message last week. It was short. I hope you find peace. Not in someone else's suffering, but in your own healing. Take care, Mike. I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back. I'm trying. You too. She didn't reply. But she didn't have to. Lauren and I spoke once more. She called. No anger. No tears. Just a conversation. She said she was staying with her sister for now. Thinking about moving out of state. I need to get out of the blast zone, she joked weakly. I told her I understood. I still love you, she said quietly. But I think we broke something we can't fix. I agree. Do you think we ever had a chance? She asked. I paused. I think we had love. But we forgot how to respect each other. She didn't argue. And that, strangely, felt like closure. She filed for divorce 2 weeks later. No drama. No court battles. No alimony demands or revenge petitions. Just signatures. 2 broken people trying to let go with some shred of dignity. I sold a house. Too many memories in the walls. I didn't need the space anymore. Moved into a smaller place near the shop. 2 bedrooms. Clean floors. No boasts. I still drive part-time. Still keep the new Dashcam rolling. Same model, different story. And I talk. To Dr. Hansen. To my brother. To myself, sometimes. That used to scare me, talking, like it meant weakness. But now I know it's where the healing lies. It's not dramatic. It's not fast. Some days, I still feel bitter. Some nights, I replay her voice in my head and wonder if any of it was ever real. But most days, I just breathe, and that's enough. If you're reading this because you've been cheated on, betrayed, or broken in a way that makes your skin feel foreign, here's what I'll say. Revenge feels like control, but it won't save you. It won't rebuild the parts of you that got cracked open. It won't hold you at night or give you closure. It just gives you something to do while you fall apart. Truth matters. Exposing lies matters. But healing? That's something else. It's quieter, slower, harder, and worth every painful step. So let them go. Let you go. Start again, even if you have to do it alone.